quickly, Brandy Lauder sends her regrets. She had a competing meeting that came up very quickly, so she wanted me to pass that on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And Ron, it's nice to see you, and Pat, and Mike Hooper, and Wilfred, I see you're there somewhere.
I am here, yes. Technical difficulties with my camera.
Well, I mean, but you're the bright star. I can see that, so we're okay. Jenny, it's nice to see you. We have a list of things for you to do already. You know, it's about 30 long. I'm sure you can handle it.
I'm glad to see the enthusiasm.
Yeah, well, we've got 1 minute before we go to work. Mike Hooper, it's nice to see you.
I see you, Mike. Thanks for having me again.
Well, thanks for participating. We hopefully we haven't picked your brain clean.
I tell you, it's a good looking product they've produced. It's good.
Yeah. And you want to check for that, do you, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Natasha and Penny, hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hi, Natasha.
How's everyone?
Good, thank you.
Mike, I'm going to swing by your place after the meeting. I need some checks signed for low energy housing.
Great. I have lots of pens. Yeah. Yeah, we just got that deposit today, so we've got money. All right, so let's get started, everybody. It's 1:30, and I believe we have quorum, so this is good. Pat, it's nice to see you as well, even though you've turned off your camera. There he is. Okay, so welcome, everybody. Doug, we have a few people that can't make it. Doug is not here, but he said no problem. Jenny can handle anything we throw her way. And Wilfred has joined us virtually, but we have his star shot. Andrew, welcome.
Hi.
Natasha, everybody, welcome. This is our final get together on the vision setting. So I'd first like to call the meeting to order and recognize that we're doing our meeting on the traditional non-ceded territory of the Petchesset and Sechot First Nations. We have an agenda in front of us. Anybody wish to add anything to the agenda or change anything in the agenda? Seeing none, then a motion to approve the agenda would be in order. Ron moves and Shelley seconds. Anybody opposed? In which case I declare it carried. We have the minutes from our last meeting. They've been distributed as well. Thank you, Janice, for doing that. A motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, please.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Who was that? Who said it first?
Sorry, it's Wilfred.
Oh, Wilfred. Thank you, Wilfred. And it's seconded by Penny. Anybody opposed? Thank you very much, everyone. So at this point, let's turn it over to our two consultants, Mark Duncan and Andrew Cuthbert. Welcome, Mark and Andrew. I know everybody's had a good chance to go through the almost final report, and I'm sure spend some time reading it with great interest, trying to figure out how you made some decisions about suggestions that we gave you. That, I mean, at least for me, that's what I was looking for is, okay, we had lots of suggestions, and how did you how did you coalesce all of that into some words that would make sense and reflect kind of what our thinking was? Okay, Mark, over to you.
Yes, no, it was actually a very interesting process, partly because of the feedback from the survey. I think gave a you know a really good overview based on including citizens and tenants. And we also had a lot of tenant suggestions and a lot of committee suggestions. Probably the trickiest one is to come up with wording for the actual vision and mission. And we've tried to incorporate everybody's comments there, recognizing that to get everybody's comments in it would have to be a novel as opposed to just a few words. But it's there. I'm hoping that we can slither through that one fairly quickly without too much wordsmithing on that, because I think it does capture the essence of your airport, which I think you've carved out a pretty good role, which is being the industrial airport for Mid-Island. And we try to incorporate some of the words that you gave us back in terms of niche markets, and we try to incorporate that into the work. What we like to do today is just spend a little bit of time on the vision and mission, make sure there's no burrs or anything on that, and then I'm going to get Andrew to just whip through the strategic plan. We did have some feedback on the strategic plan. One of the things that we had used the term AVRA, and AVRA is really just a short form for Alberni Valley Regional Airport. It doesn't really indicate anybody. So you'll find that we've taken AVRA out and we've put in advisory committee or ACRD or the entity that we feel is a partner in doing it. And then we'll just spend a moment on the capital, and hopefully we get your check mark on the report. We do have some corrections to do. There's some wordsmithing that mostly minor, where we have the instead of to and instead of a, and etc. And we've also got some comments from Mark Fortune. Thanks, Mark. So we'll take what you have today and what we already have. We'll finalize it, and hopefully next week we can send you the final report. There's certainly a lot of work defined in the report, but realistically, you've got 20 years to do it. So hopefully it does set a course, a vision and a course that the airport and the ACRD and the community can live with. So a first item, I guess, just to turn it over to you, Mike, and get any comments on the vision and mission words.
Well, as I said earlier, I think what you've captured reflects what our intention was as an advisory committee. And remembering that is our only role. We're not activists, as it were. It's not, and we're not decision makers. We're advising, and we've taken this time to put together a report that reflects our best advice and provide the ACRD board with a number of options that they can choose from. And I don't think any of us are thinking that we've got a short time horizon here, that it is a long-term time horizon, and it's going to take some time to unfold. It's dependent on finances and, I mean, so many things. But from my perspective, and anybody certainly when I finish can chime in, from my perspective, I think you've done a pretty good job of reflecting what you found in when you were doing the surveys, but more importantly, how we as a committee have responded to that. So I thank everybody for their input and for their dedication to being part of this, because I think in the end, we have a report that really does reflect our attitudes, which in turn reflect what we hope will be the wishes and the sort of the desires of that wider community out there in terms of what we're going to do with this significant infrastructure, this community infrastructure asset that we have and that we're continuing to build. Anybody else wish to add to that? Okay, well, back to you, Mark.
Okay, well, that's good. We've slithered through the mission and the vision, which are just, you know, they are a set of words to capture the essence. And I think, Andrew, you wanted to slip up each of the 5 areas of the strategic plan. And I'll let Andrew just go through some of the changes that we put in there.
Sounds good. Yeah, so just make this a little bit bigger. Is that working for everyone? You see the slides?
Your sound's a bit low, Andrew, for me, but maybe it's just my old ears.
Sounds a bit low. How's that?
That's a bit better for me.
Okay. So, as Mark said, we had some conversations with the folks at ACRD about the strategic focus areas that we'd identified in the plan, and we just made some tweaks to those partnerships. So again, as Mark said, that we just added some more clarity, moving away from the term AVRA, which we'd kind of used as a catch-all for all the folks who are active at the airport, including the advisory committee, and made it more specific. So in strategic focus area number 1, for celebrating the AWOS, we envision this as, you know, a joint effort between the advisory committee, the ACRD tenants, and the public. Promoting the flying school, that would be between the flying school and the advisory committee. Exploring extended leases, that's something more the ACRD and the tenants. And then celebrating airport employment is really a broader group, including all the tenants and the people that are operating out there. Any comment on strategic focus area 1 for the rest of it? The objectives and the actions are basically the same, but yeah, welcome any comments on this.
Yeah, carry on, Andrew.
Okay. For the second strategic focus area, and we outlined an annual airport event between the flying club, tenants, the advisory committee, and the ACRD. Promoting new client marketing or getting the word out about the airport, and that's again an effort, joint effort between the ACRD and the advisory committee potentially. And then the advisory committee objective, that's promoting communications with surrounding communities, and that's again joint effort between advisory committee and airport tenants.
Yeah, maybe ACRD probably is in that too, right? We might have missed that one.
Right. Okay. Any comments there?
I guess, Andrew, certainly one of my comments would be in terms of the advisory committee is, I know it's only so big, but there are definitely players as far as the airport's concerned who have lots of really good things to say about the airport and lots of great advice. So frankly, the more we can reach out to people who have this advice or these suggestions, the stronger the airport is. You know, the greater the buy-in, the greater the suggestions, the better it is. And I would love us to be able to figure out some way to really capture a lot of those comments more than just simply the survey. I know we had a really good return on the survey, but there are lots of people who have things they want to say, and you know, some way of contributing to that or connecting with those people could be really, really useful. I know Ron had a great conversation a few weeks back with Warwick Patterson, who's really excited about our airport and what the opportunities could be for him here in the Alberni Valley. So all of those things just strengthen what we have out there.
Mike, can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Shelley.
Thank you. I totally agree with Mike. And I guess one of the things I'm thinking of is some sort of presentation or something along that line to the Chamber of Commerce, for example, that has a lot of connections within the valley and outside would be, I think, a really great opportunity to promote the airport and the vision, and to help connect the community with that vision and mission.
Mike Hooper.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with both you and Shelley. And, I would suggest you may want to take the outcome of this report and do a regional strategy and do what Shelley's saying and work with the airports from Victoria to Nanaimo to Qualicum, Comox, to Fino, Campbell River, and create a regional strategy that can go into the long term, because all those airports, including yourself with this product, can feed into funding opportunities in the future if you have that regional view.
Yeah, good, really good suggestion. I'm wondering if because we will be presenting this report to the board of the ACRD, and obviously on this committee we have a number of board members, but I'm wondering if when we do that, if we could somehow broaden the audience so that more people know that that's the date that we're going to be making this presentation. Because I think in certain segments of our community, there'd be tremendous interest. Oh, so what did they find? What are they suggesting? What is the vision? What does it look like? And yeah, that's all would help with communication.
Absolutely. And I'd say the team that got the word out about the survey did an excellent job. And I'd say just going back to those same channels with the final report and when the presentation is going to be made would be a good starting point in terms of getting people, allowing people to see how their comments were incorporated. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I certainly know I will reach out to the people that I've connected with directly when we're doing that presentation, just to let them know that it's happening. But if you think collectively, there's so many more people. Penny.
Thanks. I was just looking, and it doesn't look like this meeting is being recorded, but the regional district has all of our board meetings recorded, and they're live, so they're on YouTube. So people can click on it and see our board meetings, but there's also the opportunity to do a presentation, like a video that could be on the website that anybody could click on and have the a presentation on the strategic plan for the airport. And there would be also an opportunity for comments on the at the website. So I'd say we could utilize that.
Penny, I think Janice put something in the chat to just indicate that the meeting is being live streamed right now. And I see it on the upper left hand of my screen indicating that it's custom live streaming. So it is being live streamed now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janice.
Okay, thank you.
That doesn't necessarily mean that we could watch it later. If someone's watching right now, it's live stream, but there could be video.
Janice says, yes, you can watch it later. Sorry, I'm just watching the chats here.
Okay, it's there. Great.
Good for Janice.
She said, just like your board meetings.
She has a way of making sure she's heard, even if we can't see her.
I'm always looking at chats here at the same time. So yeah, she chatted. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, Ron, go ahead.
Just in the spirit of celebration, and reading through this is a document that everybody sitting here can be really, really proud of and excited about. And I think that we may want to, when we get the final draft, have a presentation to the regional district. I think we should have the dog and pony show go to council, but also on that same day or days, I think we need to do a media blitz as well. And the dog and pony show can be in council at the regional district. You only have 10 minutes to make that presentation. So it can be a very condensed form, but I think that could be part of the celebration when we kick this off. And certainly I know that the press can send the message forward to other papers on the island and that sort of thing. But maybe it's something we even go after BC TV on and say, look, exciting announcement today. Mike, you can do an interview and Shelley can stand beside you and correct you when you're wrong.
I'm good at that, aren't I? Or just adding to it. I prefer to say it as just adding or enhancing, but thanks, Ron.
But I read this document over and it's really exciting, guys, and a job well done. And I think we need to come up with a strategy to celebrate the work that's been done here. So thanks for listening.
Okay.
Excellent.
Anybody else? Andrew, back to you.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, communications and engagement, like we've heard all of you say, it's super important. There's been a lot of work done, and a lot of good work on your side, on the capital side that's already complete. And I think it's an exciting time to launch, getting the word out about the airport. Strategic focus area 3. So this one was just as a reminder and refresher with different strategies. We're create a land use plan. That would be something that would help, provide clarity to where new tenants might be able to go and that sort of thing. And that would be a partnership between ACRD tenants, First Nations, most likely others as well. Capital plan, the same. What are the next steps in terms of capital, and just sorting through that in a more defined or specific way. And so that would be ACRD and the advisory committee working together on that. And then we updated a little bit of the language around the servicing plan, but again, that's the tenants and the ACRD working on what those services look like at the airport, and in terms of power, water, sewer for the different lots. Any comments on infrastructure stuff?
Go ahead, Penny.
Thank you. So I had a meeting yesterday with the fire chief from Sprout Lake, and had a little discussion about the airport and the lack of water for that service. So it's a concern of mine going forward, and I think that maybe that someone from the fire department should be part of that advisory committee. And knowing that we have this concern going forward, I think that should be part of the plan to incorporate water access so that they have that available, and that tenants at the airport should also have a plan for fire suppression at this point, because we don't have the ability. So stand back and watch it burn is probably what is going to have to happen. So just want to cover that off in this strategic plan, that we acknowledge it, and we need to work towards some kind of plan for the future. Thanks.
Really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can include that.
We'll put that in somewhere.
Mhm. Next strategic focus area, emergency management. So very timely, given the discussion about water at the airport. So what we had under the strategy for emergency management, or the aerial and wildfire fighting, partners being BC Wildfire Service, Coastal Air, and ACRD. Being part of the district emergency plan with the ACRD, and I'm not sure. I mean, that plan I think is more focused on evacuation and thing. I'm not sure if there's a fire risk element to that plan, but maybe some component of fire risk can be addressed in that strategy. And then the final one was to promote medevacs, and that's just more of an awareness piece to make sure that people know of the services that are being provided at the airport in terms of medevacs, and that's a partnership between Emergency Health Services and ACRD. And yes, any comments there? Does anybody know? I haven't reviewed the district emergency plan detail, but does it include fire risk?
Jenny, do you have any comment on that one?
So I think maybe this is just as part of maybe, yeah, I honestly, I don't. I haven't reviewed the emergency plan recently, and I'm not sure what the context was for this one. Andrew, do you know where this specifically came from, this strategy?
Oh,
It was part of the survey. Some people suggested it, and it obviously makes sense from a using the airport as your one of your strategic elements, right? It's probably already there, but I think Andrew is right. We should put in something about fire into that and make it part of the overall plan.
Mike, if I can say something here too, you're right on the money. And in Nanaimo, we became focused for earthquake preparedness. So if the military is coming in an earthquake environment, they already knew where they were going to lay things out for a major seismic, and they could come in and out of an airport facility. So you might want to consider an application for seismic.
Mark Fortune, you take a note of that?
Another good suggestion, for sure.
Okay.
Okay. And I believe, yeah, the final strategic focus area was all about partnerships and mutual benefit and alignments with the airport's neighbors and partners. So, and partnering with local First Nations, super important. That's included in tourism organizations, not just the local tourism organizations, but like Indigenous Tourism BC and things like that, as we've heard from participants in this call as well. Partnering within the tourism sector, so that would be the Advisory Committee, Destination BC, and other organizations, and with the ACRD. Partnering with the port. There's also some alignment there that we've seen and heard as well. An alignment with the province, so that's the ACRD and the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. And that's, you know, are there opportunities for funding, things like that, to make some of the improvements that we've outlined in this vision.
So just one of my my little things in number 3, partnering with the port.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a resident here and someone asks you where you live, you say, "Oh, I live in Port." But what you really mean is you're partnering with Papa, right?
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. I was going to say the same thing, but it's maybe a little bit too picky, but Port Authority, I would say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's not a problem.
The other one is just on this, if everybody's in agreement, I think that Mike Hooper's comment about partnering with other airports is important to slip in here somewhere. Because now that you've defined your role, you know, you can go to Comox and Nanaimo and others and say, we want all your industrial stuff. They might not want to give it away, but at least you've got an entry point.
I agree.
Yeah, and they may know of something coming up that they can accommodate and think, well, maybe Alberni could. So let's send it their way.
And is there any potential opportunity to get the feds involved in some way, or to leverage some partnerships with the federal government?
I think the way to get to that, Shelley, is there is an organization called British Columbia Aviation Council, and if you take Mike's suggestion and work as a group of airports on the island, you know, you have the feds like to, you know, they've spent a lot of time trying to get out of direct airport operations, but if they see a strategic investment for a region, then I think it would work. And that's one of the things we were looking at there. I think there's an opportunity in the port, let's use that term, to have, you're a gateway. You're like a mini Vancouver. You have an airport, you have a port, you know, you've got direct shipping. 20 years from now, people might fly in and take a cruise ship from your location. So you know, that kind of sort of strategic advantage, I think, needs to somehow creep in here.
For sure. And I guess I would add, even now, since we have cruise ships coming in, that there may be an opportunity in the interim to utilize the small craft for trips, for, you know, for cruise ship people. So touring type things, as opposed to flying somewhere else. So for sure, I see that connection.
I don't know if any of you have been to Croatia, but they have a bunch of very small, you know, 60 passenger, 100 passenger, 150 passenger cruise ships. One of the reasons we don't have them on this coast is our regulatory requirements. But over time, there's a market for somebody to fly right in there. I mean, you've got the islands and Tofino and all that right outside. It's just set up for the future.
Penny, you had a comment.
I do. I'm just wondering why the Tofino Airport isn't one of the partners here.
And and I agree with you. It should be. I think partner with the Port Authority and island airports, I think, would be that what we have to adjust this one to.
And it is actually described in this document as our sister airport and under joint management. So, but I guess you'd have to actually read the whole thing rather than if someone was just scanning through these pages.
Yeah, it's hard to capture everything in, a set of strategic initiatives.
Right. Okay.
Okay. That's those are the strategic focus areas.
Maybe the next area is the capital, and I think each of you have the two lists. Maybe we just flash those two lists up, Andrew, and then we can open it up for discussion. Understand that as a visioning document, we didn't want to get into sort of defining which capital went first or anything like that. So this is more of a listing that came from the survey. It came from the tenants, and we're trying to present it, shall we say, without judgment, because your priorities in terms of the capital might change. And really, it's the airport operator, ACRD, that would, defines the capital budget and would make a decision on the priorities. So we've divided into what we consider to be relatively short term, and just to list them, there's the landing strip, the parking, internet, the various items that were brought up primarily by the tenants. And maybe we'll just look at the next one briefly, Andrew. This one's a little bit more substantive, and you'll see that we have the land use plan. I know that Mark Fortune's already working on the issue of additional lease lots. And I think one of the things we've said is when you do that, you have to consider conceptually where services would go sometime in the future. Right now, services are funded by the individual tenants, but at some time way in the future, there may be an opportunity to have, airport funded services. As we know, Nanaimo still doesn't have an overall servicing plan from outside. It's done primarily by each development. The flying school, you've already got a very keen individual to set that up, so hopefully that will unfold. A view restaurant, I mean, really, that's a very much a market dependent item, and you need somebody that's willing to make that investment. Maybe something will pop out from a tourism perspective on that. The camping area, we really consider that to be kind of a flying club responsibility, because generally that's for fly-ins, etc. And then there's a number of issues there on taxi improvements, runway ends, etc. And here we have district fire training facility. One of the things we saw, because you have aerial firefighting and you also have a firefighting base, one of the things that was done at Boundary Bay Airport, for example, they established a fire training area because there was space, etc. And there's you know, cross-reference there, because the facilities for the training area can be used in an emergency basis on the airport. And then there's a mixed-use maintenance facility. So those are listed. They're in the report, and as we said, would only proceed with a decision made by ACRD. So I think we can open it now to general discussion, Mike, and we do have quite a few comments individually that we have to incorporate. I guess we're open to any final comments or tweaks, and then we will adjust the report and issue a final one sometime next week. And then I guess the other thing we have to talk about is, you know, which is really the advisory committee. Where do you go now from now? The regional board, establishing a communication with the tenants, which we would move over to your discussion.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure who has things to say, but there are lots of people here, and we haven't heard from a number of them. It'd be great to hear some of the silent ones. But just to say, we also have the vision and mission. So it might be worthwhile just before we wrap up to also go through those two pieces. So anybody who hasn't, Mike Hooper, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I've already talked once, but just really quickly, on your partnership, Mark, I didn't see for customs a partnership with the Port Authority, and that might be a really wise partnership because there's already a need at the Port Authority, and I know you'd already have that in the plan. And in the land use plan, because Michael, you're right at the beginning of development on a new slope, you might want to throw in architectural guidelines that are really talk about and set the focus of what the airport is, and what you build and how you build it. We'll talk about what it is in the future.
Okay. Anybody else? Dan, do you have anything you want to add?
Not really, no. Following along, I like what we're seeing. So, a quick question about the airport day. Is that part of our, immediate thing, or is that just an ongoing thing? The celebration days.
Well, my sense was that it become, an annual or every second year event. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we'd have to see how the Flying Club feels about it, but I know that they've done it in the past. Penny, did you want to comment on that?
Yes, it has been an annual event for many years, but COVID has obviously stopped that recently. So, but I'm sure that it was more than just the Flying Club. I think that put that on. So, but it was tenants, pilots from the area that really participated and promoted it. I've been to a number of them.
That's something that shows up on our short-term goals. Is it something that we just assume is happening every year?
It's sort of it's kind of our first strategic venture from an advisory committee to get behind the Flying Club and support that in whatever way. And it's really good to have it led by the tenants, and because they're the best sellers of the airport.
Yeah. And does that show on that slide that you showed there?
Yes, it is. It's
okay.
in I think it's on the first strategic area of initiative.
Okay, good.
Can I continue?
Oh, go ahead, Penny.
Thanks. So the expansion on the airport also interrupted their annual fly day. And part of the regional district that I've been pushing is that we celebrate and really have a celebration for the completion of the airport expansion, and work with the tenants to make it a big success, and really also include in that, especially this first day, that we are open for business, you know, celebrate and say, look at what we've done, we've accomplished, and what we have here. I think that that's our biggest opportunity right now that we need to take advantage of.
Shelley?
Thank you. I guess I was just wanting to touch on Dan's question, which I think is a really good one. And of course, what Penny's added to say, I wonder if that might be an opportunity going forward for the committee to give some input, if it would be of value, to what the annual celebration might look like. And I totally take the point that the ACRD and the tenants are really key. But I really think that, and I have attended the airport days before, I thought they were great. I'm just not sure that they get the attention that they might get. And I just think there's some value in really brainstorming and looking at that event and seeing, is there some opportunity for, you know, for a different approach? Is there some things that we can infuse into that would make it really a more inclusive community celebration rather than just a highlight of the tenants? Because as you know, there was a huge uproar about losing the drag racing. And I just think if we could involve some community stakeholders in that, including First Nations, whose territory the airport's on, that we might have a bit of a more, you know, kind of exciting event, for lack of better words. Anyway, just my thought. And I think we've got somebody in chat that's got a comment. I don't know where in the scheme of things, Mr. Chair, you want to, it seems like a comment on airport days from someone. I don't know if you want to take a look at that when we're discussing the issue or wait till later. I could read it if you wanted.
No, I think that's fine. I think it's really important, and I'm thinking after we've presented this, that for us as an advisory committee to really have a meeting where we connect with our airport tenants and discuss some of these things would make sense to me, because in the end, they're the sort of the first group that we need to connect with, and would help a lot in terms of getting our message out to that larger community. Penny.
Thank you. So earlier I mentioned that someone from the fire department would be a good person to be sitting on an advisory committee. So I just have a question about the advisory committee then. I don't believe that it's the intention that this group is the advisory committee going forward, or is it? Because I do agree with the comment that there should be someone, a representative from the tenants or two that sit on an advisory committee. Thanks.
Well, our role is to advise the regional district, the board of the regional district. Maybe we need some mechanism by which, as an advisory committee, we can get our advice. You know, some advice directly to us from the tenants and whoever else we think is important. Maybe there's some way of broadening it without increasing the membership in the airport advisory committee.
That note that's on that came in on the chat was from Warwick, and it's just reiterating what you said, what you're saying here, Mike, that there should or could be a representative from the tenants on the advisory committee as well. So just thought I'd bring that up.
Dan?
I guess the way I'm also reading that though is specifically in relation to airport day. So it seems to me there's two issues here, right? One issue is the fate or sort of the composition or the longevity of the airport advisory committee going forward versus, should there be a separate or another advisory committee on airport day. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that this person is suggesting at the very least that there be someone, tenant representation in terms of looking at airport day. So, I think those are two separate issues, but they may overlap.
Yeah. Dan, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I just see the potential future as being more about aviation, especially airport days, something like that. We get behind aviation, and what does that mean? We have vintage planes coming because we want the town people to go and check that out. We have a history, an aviation history, not a deep one, but what we have is incredible. So making all that part of it, I just see that promoting that as being a real key piece to the future.
And we've actually, as far as I know, have never actually had the snowbirds land in our airport. So who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe at some point in the future, we could have a group like that. Natasha Marshall, did you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Do you guys have a protocol in place with any of the First Nations when it comes to any events or any future involvement? I know that we're talking like we are the advisory committee right now, but just in the future, how would you have that as something that's more solidified as an agreement? Perhaps somebody could come and welcome, perhaps somebody could come give a history. I'm just thinking of out loud.
Well, I like what you're thinking, and I don't know, but maybe either Penny or Wilfred can give us some perspective on that. Wilfred, do you know anything about that? Whether or not there is a protocol in place?
Not from my understanding, not from this group anyway. Sorry, I don't have more information. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe there is any kind of set protocol.
But it definitely does make sense, given that we are on unceded traditional territory, that we follow that process. Penny?
So it is mentioned in here about partnering with First Nations, and that, Shelley mentioned that we're on the traditional territory. So airports that I have been where there's been culture from a different community, there has been a telling story on the wall, sort of explaining where you are, some of the history at the airport in the terminal building, be it a one-room shack or whatever, but it's there. And it was interesting, and it gives people something to get the feeling of where they actually are. And I'm all about history. I sit on the Alberni Valley Museum Committee, and
that's one.
Really believe in, no, you need to know where you've come from to know where you're going and who you are. Thanks.
And that's one of the items we have in our capital list to have it was sort of suggested at least a signboard that talked a little bit, and maybe adding in the history would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, I think unless there's anything else, Pat Deacon, I don't know if you have anything to add, or Mark Fortune, if you have anything to add.
I do have a couple of things. I'd like to commend Mark and Andrew and Mike for their work on this document, and the committee and the others that have been contacted as well. I'd like to say that when the report is ready, it's in its final draft, that I'd like to put it up on our new investment attraction hub. I'd like to, I'm preparing or proposing rather, a series of economic impact videos. And I'd like to make sure that one gets done on those. Very grateful that we are moving forward. Some of you, maybe all of you, will remember the challenge that we had in securing the funding for the lengthening and the widening of the runway, and the number of people who thought that we were doing this only for the Colson Group. And I think this document shows the other opportunities that are developing out there. So I'm grateful for that. The issue of water does remain a concern. Some of you will be aware that the industrial land inventory and action plan that we did attempted to develop high-level costs for provision of water and sewage treatment at the airport. They are, I believe, those costs are not something that will be embracing anytime soon. So I do think that we will need to take another look at how we access the kind of water that might be needed for new tenants at the airport, or even for emergency purposes. And then finally, but not least, we definitely need to adopt a protocol with the nations about moving forward from here. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to comment.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Mark Fortune, did you have anything you want to add?
Nothing at the moment, really. Just stepping back to fire flows for the airport. The airport right now is considered as not protected. We have no water system in play, and that's one of the things we were talking about with a servicing plan for that site. Once again, as Pat mentioned, it's probably going to be very expensive to do that. The other option we can also look at is having current tenants supply their own water system or water system capacity reserve for their larger developments, much like the Colson Group are planning with their manufacturing and hangar facilities. But that's also a work in process, so we'll move forward with that in small steps at the moment. That's all I have now.
Okay, thank you. That may be an opportunity for a partnership down the road. Say, for example, if the Hupechisa want to get a water system for their reserve on the north side of the Stroke River there, maybe that's some opportunity. But I mean, that's just a maybe blue sky kind of thinking. So I think unless there are any further comments on the report, we need a motion to accept the final report from our consultants. Dan, and is there a seconder? Shelley, thank you very much. Anybody opposed to that? Okay, then I declared the motion to be carried. Any late business? Penny.
I just have a question. Could Mr. Hooper tell us anything about advisory committee that is for other airports like Nanaimo? Is it a big group or is it a small group, or how do you consult?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I used to sit on the Heritage Society in Port Alberni in the 90s. So good on you that you're involved. We didn't put together a consistent advisory group in Nanaimo, but a lot of airports have them. We did put together a group for noise mitigation because if there's any issues, either positive or negative, to get ownership, people have to be consistently involved. So we did do that, and we had a noise mitigation roundtable. When I was in McMillan-Bodell, we did a number of advisory groups in every community, including Port Alberni. And the advisory groups that we did in those days was 12 to 18 people. And if it got bigger than 18 people, it was really unmanageable. And it's usually good somewhere between 8 and 12 to have input. And one last thing, since you got me talking, you should never get me talking. You might be able to bridge your fire issue with an 18-inch well and a cistern. It's not hugely expensive, and with an 18-inch well, you get quite a reserve that you can put into the cistern, and that will help substantially if you have to bridge. And I'll shut up again.
Mr. Chair, may I just interject?
Okay, Shelley, go ahead.
Looking at Campbell River Airport Committee, and there's 9 people on there, including a non-voting council liaison, and they talk about their purpose as to provide policy advice and recommendations to council on various issues relating to airport, including long-range planning, etc., economic development. So, you know, some smaller airports still do have advisory committees, it seems.
Right. Penny?
Could Mark Fortune please say what who's on the airport advisory for the Tofino Airport? Because sure they have one.
Through the chair, the Tofino Airport at the moment, we haven't had an advisory committee meeting during COVID. We did have an impasse with some marketing late in 2019, and we're looking at restarting that whole process again, probably realistically in 2022 at the site. But it was set up much like your current commission is. We have basically local communities are involved, First Nations, and tourism is a big thing out on the West Coast. We had members from both Ucluelet and Tofino tourism boards and a member at large, which was Mr. McDermott from the Wickenish for an industry representative. But at the moment, that is basically with COVID, that's basically shut down. We haven't entertained the Zoom option for the West Coast portion of the advisory.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Jenny?
If I may further, through the chair, I do have an updated, I found in terms of reference for this committee. I'd be happy to send it out to any of the directors or committee for review. You guys can take a look at it. I think it might actually be hitting what you're looking for, but might not be. So you might already have set up what you want, but I'd be happy to share that with the group.
Oh, it's always good to get that information, always. So yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, before we wrap up, are there any questions from the community that may be watching or listening to this this meeting?
Through the chair, there are no questions from the public regarding this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Janice. Then I guess, do I need a motion to adjourn? Or do I just declare it adjourned?
You need a motion.
Okay, thanks, Janice. Okay, a motion to adjourn in that case. Shelley and Penny, anybody opposed? So once again, Mark and Andrew, thank you very much for your work. I look forward to working with you and in fact, the entire committee when we present to the ACRD. And we'll do it together. But I also know that we have a great supporter in Susie Quinn. So I will make sure that Susie is aware, although Janice will probably do the same thing, but I'll make sure that Susie is aware from me when we are presenting so that she can set aside the time to listen in. So, Penny?
Can we have a spokesperson then? I think that we should, for any questions, direct them to, say, yourself or to Mark, or to answer any questions, because I'm sure there will be some coming.
Yeah,
and
so
just like to say thank you to Mark and Andrew. I really think that this is a supreme product that you've provided us with. So thanks. But I do think that we need a spokesperson.
So if you're thinking about for the ACRD, when we do present to the ACRD meeting, what I'll do—
to the public.
Oh, to the public. Okay. Well, I guess I'm the de facto spokesperson as chair of the advisory committee, and I do get inquiries from various media types. But I think more importantly, when we present to the ACRD collectively, when this committee collectively presents, then I'll kind of set the stage, give a bit of background, so on and so forth, turn it over to Mark and Andrew to present the synopsis of the report and all the relevant things. And then we'll open it up to questions from the ACRD board. And I would hope that everybody on this committee that's able to participate in the meeting will have their own contributions that can be made, because this is a collective response. And everybody has their perspective. Everybody has had a role in framing this. And so together we have a presentation that we're making in terms of our best advice. And, hopefully we'll be able to answer those questions that come our way. And between us, I'm sure we can answer the majority of them. But back to the original one, yeah, I think it's logical and appropriate at this point if there is some outside group that, whether it be press or what have you, that wants a perspective, just get in touch with me as the chair of the committee. Mark Duncan.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say before we close that having dealt with airport advisory committees, actually right across Canada, your committee is very strong, very well represented, good cross section, and very much engaged. So, I would use your strength going forward.
Yeah.
Mike, I just want to get a sense of when you're planning to present to the ACRD board, the date around, just so we could plan ahead.
Okay, at this point, it's either going to be the 14th or the 28th of April. There is no delegation on the 14th of April. There is one other delegation on the 28th of April at this point, but really it is somewhat determined by when Mark and Andrew feel that they're absolutely completed and ready to go.
Thank you. And one last question, that is, I'm assuming, but I want to make sure I'm correct, that the report, since it's in draft and has not been presented to the ACRD, is not for sharing to our respective stakeholders yet until it's approved and formalized. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's right. It has to be received by the ACRD board before it is no longer draft.
Thank you so much. I just want to make that explicit and be clear. Thanks.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for participating. And once again, Mark and Andrew, thank you so much for your leadership in this endeavor. It's been great. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great next few weeks.